You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Friday, happy Venus Day, and welcome to the weekend. We have a little guest with us today. The pups are joining me. So if you're here live, get comfortable. We're going to talk through the energy of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And if you're finding this video later and you're just looking for guidance for Saturday or a specific transit, I will add markers to the timeline when we finish up here so you can jump to whichever part of the forecast you are looking for guidance on. We have sort of a calm weekend. I use the term calm loosely because the transit we're experiencing today could be a little bit intense. Venus is meeting Chiron in Aries, and we also have multiple planets, Saturn and Pluto, at the 29th degree still. So I've heard a couple different people say they're already feeling the effects of the full moon in Virgo, which will be next Tuesday. And that may be true. But also what we're feeling, if there's intensity or powerful emotions coming up, might actually be Pluto and Saturn, both at the 29th degree. Katie, you made it. Happy to have you here. Hi, Rachel. Happy Friday. Puppies are shifting back there. Before we get into the forecast, let's honor the souls who were born on this magical day. 3-3, Camila Cabello is a Pisces. Herschel Walker, interesting. Jessica Biel is a Pisces. Julie Bowen. Alexander Graham Bell, a dreamer, the man who invented the telephone, right? He was a Pisces. Anyone else popping out for this day? Josh Duggar. Ooh, Pisces are interesting. They can be prone to addiction and falling down a rabbit hole, but they can also be incredible dreamers. Like Catherine O'Hara celebrates a birthday tomorrow. Amazing actress. We love her. Bobby Christina Brown, Brooklyn Beckham, Draymond Green is a Pisces, Patricia Heaton, another great actress, Whitney Port, and just for funsies, we'll see who's celebrating on Sunday. Eva Mendes. Interesting. Joel Osteen. Makes sense that he's a Pisces. He's that famous preacher, pastor, minister. I don't know what you would call him. Anyone else popping out to you? Michael Irvin. Of course, if you know someone celebrating this weekend, let us know so we can send some love their way. All right. Before we get into the astrology of the weekend, I want to chat a little bit about the magic of this day. It's 3/3/2023 as we are live here. And a lot of times these days are referred to as portal days or angel number days. So 3, we can harness the energy of the number 3 today with this repeating date 3/3. And 3 in numerology is a number of creativity and artistry and curiosity. You can kind of think about it like the Gemini archetype in astrology ruling the 3rd house, right? Seeking new information, being communicative. 3 also rules communication and chatting. But we can also use our knowledge of astrology to lean into the number 3 by leaning into the energy of a trine or a grand trine. Because remember, a trine in astrology represents flow and balance. And when we have a grand trine, it's that nice equilateral triangle in the chart. And if you are on a spiritual journey, you've probably noticed triangles popping up a lot in spiritual graphics or texts or things like that, because the three, the Holy Trinity, if you will, the trine, the triangle, is considered to be a sacred symbol by many cultures. And you can kind of think of it like this: the Holy Trinity, the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, the three archetypes of the divine feminine, the maiden, the mother, and the crone. In, I think, Buddhism, there's life, death, and rebirth. So a lot of powerful things come in threes. My question to you as we dive into the forecast, of course, I invite you to stay curious, leaning into the number 3, but also, how can you think of things in a more expressive, creative, artistic way today? How can you manifest, if you're trying to manifest using this portal, really soaking in the magic of the Venus-Jupiter conjunction with that artistic, creative, curious mindset? Aries is in my 3rd house. So this Venus-Jupiter conjunction in your 3rd house, a powerful day to work with that energy on 3-3. Yeah, preparing myself for that 12th house full moon. It'll be right before my ascendant, Rachel, right before it. I feel you. But our 1st house full moon is coming. Katie says, I have a Virgo moon, manifesting that the best of my Virgo traits will be illuminated for the full moon. I see it for you now. It's happening. Hi, Diane. So let's get a check on the astrological energy now that we just tapped into the magic of 3-3. The sun is in Pisces. The moon moved into Leo this morning. So most of the weekend, the moon will be in Leo. But it did make a pretty potent connection before it moved into Leo. So we'll talk through that. But just know that through the weekend, when the sun is in a water sign and the moon is in a fire sign, they're kind of playing this awkward dance with each other. And they're not quite on the same page. So you could have some fiery or expressive or bold emotions come through, but the sun in Pisces is a little bit more sensitive when it comes to our expression, really leaning into, again, creativity and artistry. Both of these signs are very creative signs, so that can be a nice way to release emotions or use this energy as an outlet. Look at that, Rachel. So interesting. I keep getting creative ideas and did a brain dump of all the things I want to create. Yeah, I don't have to get it all done at once, but I wanted it written down. Yeah, and sometimes we write things down and then we just kind of put them on the back burner, and it's nice to come back to that list when we're needing creative inspiration or just to check in. Were there any ideas that I had that I didn't quite get to yet? Love that for you. Okay, but the big transit that we are feeling this morning is a conjunction between Venus and Chiron, 9:47 a.m. This was exact, so we're definitely still feeling it. Here's a look at the current chart, and you'll see that Jupiter is still very close by as well. So for all intents and purposes, we're still feeling a triple conjunction between Jupiter, Chiron, and Venus. But today, the exact meeting of Venus and Chiron is what we'll be talking about, of course, considering Jupiter still being very close by. So looking at that range in your chart between about 10, 15 degrees, maybe even going up to like 18 degrees of Aries, what's going on around there? Maybe looking at those same degrees in Libra or in any of the the cardinal signs, Capricorn and Cancer. Okay, we hear you. Thank you. This is what happens when I leave the door open. So noticing if you're experiencing any tension or activation from those degrees of cardinal signs in your chart. Let's dive into this energy though. And for my regulars, for those of you who are familiar with astrology, I'd love to know if anything is coming up for you or if any experiences have happened that you would like to share. Of course, no pressure, but remember, Venus is the planet of love, money, and beauty. We've really been feeling Venus this week during her conjunction to Jupiter, and today is Venus Day, so it's her day. It's the day for love. It's the day for money, and it's the day to feel pretty, right? So Chiron in Aries. Chiron's been in Aries for a long time. Chiron spends a while in Aries. And Chiron is, for those of you who are new, an asteroid in the asteroid belt known as the Wounded Healer. Chiron gets his name from mythology. And in mythology, Chiron was this being who was wounded in some way. and he was trying to heal himself. And no matter what he did, he could not heal himself. Now they're running in here. He couldn't heal himself, so he was constantly seeking out new healing modalities, and essentially he became a master healer, but he was never able to heal himself. Now, that doesn't mean that our Chiron placement is an area where we'll never heal. It just means that whenever we have a Chiron transit, it can trigger some old wounds or some fresh wounds even, and it can force healing. So in the highest expression of this conjunction between Venus and Chiron, healing is possible in our relationships. When it comes to our self-worth, Venus also rules our values and our worth. When it comes to money wounds or, money issues, healing is possible. And even when it comes to what we see as beautiful or what we think is acceptable for other people to see, healing is possible. But often on the way to healing, there is wounding that needs to be addressed, right? You can't have healing without first acknowledging wounding. So with this conjunction playing out in Aries, there could be some triggers. There could be some anger that pops up, maybe old anger. Be careful not to misplace that, right? Because you might be getting activated or angry about an old emotion that lives inside of you and not really understanding why is this coming up now. So try not to be too impulsive or reactive. It's easier said than done with this playing out in the very reactive sign of Aries. And instead, if you're noticing triggers come up, if you're noticing tender emotions or any sort of wounding coming up, be the observer of that wounding. What do you need? What are you showing me? If there's any issues popping up in relationship with Venus being involved in this conjunction, ask yourself, am I projecting old relationship dynamics onto this situation, or is there something that's still unhealed here that's asking for my attention? So beware of projecting old wounding onto current situations and instead focus on the healing potential if you can. Again, anger is a possible side effect here. So having a healthy outlet for anger, by just suppressing anger, it doesn't go away, remember. So making sure that you're moving that energy, screaming into a pillow, going for a drive, going for a run, singing at the top of your lungs in your car, or just witnessing that anger and asking, what do you need? So again, Jupiter is very close by, which makes this feel like more healing potential than activating new wounding. Jupiter reminds us that fortune is on our side, and it makes it easier to see silver linings, to see the positive potential when those wounds do pop up. So thank you, Jupiter, for helping us out here. But Jupiter also magnifies things. So I will say, notice if there's something little that's making you angry. Are you magnifying it? Are you making it bigger? Is it being blown out of proportion? Jupiter, we love Jupiter. He brings all the positive energy, but sometimes he can make things a little over the top, right? I'm curious what Chiron means for my kids. Obviously, they have some wounding, but they're still young to have a lot of reflection. Would love to support them through these Chiron transits. Ooh, I love that. It's interesting because sometimes Chiron can signal wounding even that we're carrying generationally, especially depending on where their Chiron is in their chart or from past lives even. So, it might just be things I've realized, not that I'm an expert, I don't work with kids often, but I've realized that what's like wounding for kids can seem so simple to us, just things that we can brush off as adults, or many of us can brush off as adults, really bother kids. So they might just be more sensitive. But I would love to hear if you observe anything with Chiron transits popping up in your kids. If you have any intel to share, I'm always open to it. Ooh, exciting day for country fans. Morgan Wallen Day. The man is finishing his Saturn return and it's music to my ears. Pisces Mercury has me feeling the vibes. Music can be very healing. Yes, Court. So that might be something to lean into. Something I do if I really need to release anger is put on Alanis Morissette. I know I've shared this with you before. Put on angry music. I'm not a big screamo metal fan, but that can do the trick too. Really anything that's kind of angsty, maybe some Green Day, and just let it out. safe, healthy outlet. And it's like the artists are already kind of channeling that angst, you know, when you're listening to the music. So it just helps it come out easier for me, at least. Rachel says, I feel like there's been a theme of introspection for me. That conversation with my mom yesterday helped me realize that I've been holding on to things that aren't true today. And I feel like I can finally move past all the hurt and the pain I felt when I was younger and move forward with confidence and love for myself and others. This is a beautiful example of this Venus-Chiron conjunction in its highest potential. What old wounding am I projecting onto current situations? What pain is popping up in relationship dynamics? Often we don't really know how to acknowledge our own pain. If we're just in a vacuum, if we're just by ourselves, nothing's going to trigger us. It takes someone mirroring our wounding back to us to really acknowledge it. So often our relationships are just mirrors of our triggers, which can be extremely difficult. So how can you take accountability for your own triggers rather than projecting them onto the person on the other side of that mirror, on the other side of that relationship? And it sounds like you are having beautiful realizations, Rachel. Lots of shadow work, releasing, and inner child healing. Beautiful. Speaking of music, Katie's been listening to a lot of 90s music. The nostalgia of it is healing. Yeah, reflecting on who I was when the music came out and who I am now listening to it. Definitely. Do you ever just listen to a song that you like, especially as a teenager when you're in those kind of angsty, dramatic years, and you're just like, wow, this just takes me back to a whole time. Like, we did a song circle through Goddess Night Out about a month ago, and someone brought up Death Cab for Cutie, and I was like, oh my gosh, I Will Follow You Into the Dark was such an emo song for me. Like, and then I had to listen to it on the way home, and I was like, wow, I had no idea about love when this song came out, but it made me feel like I knew. It made me feel like I knew what love was about. Oh, do you want to come up here? Come here. Yes. Okay. We have a guest. She wants to be part of it, this little Libra on Venus day. That's what I'm thinking about my kids' Chiron transit. It's going to be open to insights on that. Yeah, please share. It's all in the release. Give it to God, definitely. Yes, great song, huh, Katie? I know I hadn't listened to Death Cab in forever, and actually the song that came up was Soul Meets Body, which is another great Death Cab song that I didn't even realize was by them. I've been listening to that a bunch now, but, you know, just took me back to a different time. Okay, so that's the only major transit that we're feeling all weekend, actually, that we're talking about all weekend. And I don't know if you can hear the little tip taps, but they are hyper today and just running around like little maniacs. I think we're still going to be feeling the Venus-Jupiter conjunction and the Chiron conjunction through the weekend. I think with 3 planets, bodies, whatever you want to call them, so close to each other, we're still going to be feeling that energy. Ooh, title and registration. I'll have to check out that song. And also, I just want to acknowledge before we get into the moon transits, because that'll take us on a journey of its own. Again, we have Saturn at 29 degrees and we have Pluto at 29 degrees. 29 degrees is the degree of a lot. It's the degree of restlessness. It's the degree of let's just get on with it already. And so I just want to reiterate, if you're feeling like, whoa, I'm already feeling this full moon. It's not just the full moon. It's like there's this energy of anticipation, of Saturn moving into Pisces, of Pluto moving into Aquarius. March is jam-packed with some powerful energetic shifts, and we can feel that. We can feel that they're coming, and I think collectively we're all just like, okay, what does this mean? What's going to happen? So, you know, I love that Alyssa says, good, I could use a not insane weekend. Yeah, we can think of this weekend as like, okay, it's not going to be the most comfortable because we've got anoretic degrees up the wazoo, but it is an opportunity to just take a beat, integrate all that came up from the Venus-Jupiter Chiron conjunction before the full moon, like really amplifies the energy and illuminates all that has come to be. So let's talk about the moon. The waxing moon in Cancer made its final connections this morning. So over the past couple days, we've really been digesting a lot of emotions. We have been tapping into our body, maybe feeling a little more sensitive or just emotional in general. The moon in Cancer makes us very attuned to our emotions. Now, at 6 a.m. Pacific time, so 9 a.m. Eastern time, the moon opposed Pluto and connected with Saturn, all at the 29th degree. It was a quincunx to Saturn, which is that in conjunct awkward angle. But here, let me pull this back so you can see what this looks like. Really what we were feeling was the moon in Cancer at 29 degrees, Pluto in Capricorn at 29 degrees, and this awkward connection to Saturn, still conjunct Mercury, by the way, which we talked about yesterday, right? We're still feeling that conjunction between Saturn and Mercury too, which is why like negative emotions, worries, limiting beliefs might be popping up as well still. So just give yourself grace through that. When the moon opposes Pluto, power struggles are possible. We have this need to control or manipulate. We are kind of attracted to the darkness, if you will. So the moon opposing Pluto and making this awkward angle to Saturn at the same time. Saturn at its best can help us lean into maturity, but when there's an imbalanced angle to Saturn, it's harder to find that maturity. So you might have noticed this morning, I could see this causing some emotional tantruming, some, again, power struggles, manipulation. It might have been late last night even coming up, but definitely early this morning, the moon went out of Cancer with a bang. Hopefully that just passed you right on by, because that's probably the most difficult transit that we're experiencing all weekend. But yeah, it might have been an intense moment that just kind of slapped you in the face with the moon opposing Pluto. Feeling so antsy, so on edge. My sleep was shit this week. Yeah, 29th degree. We're all restless. Okay, are you going to go back there now? She likes to go sit behind me. We got this guy over here. There he is. Just puppies everywhere. But you know, it's like emotional support animals. Grab something to snuggle with through the discomfort. Hopefully you've got, like, I know Rose, you've got a baby nearby. Hopefully you've got a dog or a cat or some sort of animal or human that you can just kind of co-regulate with, right? Katie says, definitely feeling that integration in my body. It's nice since I have a lot of analytical and mental energy in my chart. Hey, Elena. My Chiron in Cancer brought up intense mother wounds, but now I'm leaning into mothering myself and myself as a mother. It was intense, but all part of the process. Yeah, and it might have felt like it all came to a head this morning, but now we should be starting to feel a different energy moving in, because the moon has moved into Leo as of 7:16 a.m. Pacific time, 10:18 Eastern time. I'll let you do the math wherever you live. So the moon in Leo through the weekend is an invitation to just kind of like let down our lion's mane, have a little fun. The energy is still building, so we're not quite in the release phase yet. It's almost as if the moon's energy is picking up momentum. We're lighting the fire. We're moving forward. It's very dynamic and potentially pretty dramatic. So the highest expression of the Leo moon is playful, is fun. It's a little jovial and kind of competitive, but the lowest expression is egotistical and childish, right? So we want to use the highest expression if we can. The question that came to mind for me about the Leo moon this weekend is, how can you show up more authentically and more joyfully? Sometimes I think we associate authenticity with being blunt or being real, you know, but how can you be real in your expression of your joy? How can you express your joy and your creativity authentically? That's where we can really lean into the magic of the Leo moon. Anytime the moon's in a fire sign, I say move your body, especially with all this restlessness that we're feeling. Move your body, move your body, move your body, and do it in a fun way. Let it be fun. The Leo moon is just that invitation to play and find pleasure, find joy in life. Find that thing that lights you up from the inside out and helps you share yourself expressively. It's family fun night at my daughter's school. Perfect for a Leo moon. Yeah, and even if it's not family fun night at your kid's school, how can you make it a family fun night? How can you make it a personal fun night? Even if it's just you, how can you have fun? And we don't have to wait until after a full moon to release, but I don't think it'll be like a huge emotional release if you lean into fun. I think it'll just be more of like a, okay, we're on the right path. We're not so fixated on how things are going to go when we're just in the flow of joy and fun. And sometimes we're in the waxing gibbous phase of the moon, which is all about gathering more data and making final adjustments. And sometimes when we're in that flow state of creativity and fun and not thinking about the to-do list and all of our responsibilities, we can have some aha little insights of, oh, I could do that differently, or this would be a fun creative way to go for this project or something like that. Rachel says, I've been really leaning into better self-talk, not letting myself fall into past patterns. And I feel like I'm finally finding that joy in this darkness. Perfect for the Leo moon. The moon does make one potent connection, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time. The moon is going to meet up with Lilith. Okay, so again, this is coming back to expressing yourself authentically doesn't necessarily have to be harsh. It can be powerful. It can be bold. It can declare, this is what lights me up. This is who I am. This is what I'm here to do, without it being mean or egotistical or controlling or hostile or even just a tad bit bitchy. You know, sometimes I think, especially as women, we're like, if we're going to express our power, we're going to be a little bitchy about it. You know, like, I'm not bossy, I'm the boss. That could definitely come up with the moon conjunct Lilith. So how can you still honor your own authenticity and who you want to be in the world while expressing those bold desires and owning your self-worth at the same time? That's how we end our Friday night, with a conjunction to Lilith. So if you need a little push to be bold and expressive, Lilith is there for you, helping you to own your power. Just don't overdo it. Don't overdo it. Rachel says, I plan on playing Harry Potter tonight, letting myself play a video game to have fun. So perfect for the Leo moon, playing a game, doing something that your inner child would love. I will be dancing at Goddess Night Out tonight, which is just so fun for the Leo moon. Okay, so now let's move on to our Saturday, which is all about the Leo moon. The moon just making several transits throughout the day, starting with a trine to the Venus-Jupiter Chiron conjunction. This is happening pretty much all day throughout the day tomorrow, which is pretty cool. Our whole day tomorrow is kind of like this easy integration of that experience that we've been having all week of this conjunction. So you'll see the moon moving from 12 to 15 degrees. We'll be hitting all three of those planets. This starts around 8 a.m. and ends around 3 or 4 p.m. So we've really got all day that we can integrate and align with and flow with all of the big shifts or awarenesses or moves that have happened because of the Venus-Jupiter Chiron conjunction. So this feels like maybe under the waxing gibbous moon in Leo, taking the insight that you gained from these conjunctions and figuring out, how do I flow this through me in a fun way, in a pleasurable way? How can I make it easy? Let it be easy is the mantra of the trine. It can be easy, it can be fun, it can be pleasurable, it can be joyful. So it's easy to flow with love. It's easy to find that healing. It's easy to align with abundance on Saturday. I mean, love this for us. So expect more integration, I think, but let that integration be fun. Spoken like a true fire sign that you are, with your fire stelliums. Hard for me not to be bossy when I'm being authentic. Hey, at least you know yourself and you have that awareness. There are a lot of people in the world who do not have that awareness. I think we're all going to have a fun night. So yes, all the integration, all the positivity on Saturday. Then things get a little tricky and we hit a little snag, okay? So the moon is going to square Uranus in the midst of all of that. Let me jump back here and see if I can get it to be exact. Hold on. Maybe forward. Yeah, I needed to go forward. Okay, the moon squares Uranus right around 1 or 2 p.m., maybe 3, about 2 p.m. Interesting, though. We're seeing a grand trine play out right here at the time that the moon squares Uranus. So we've got good fortune on our side, but there could be surprises, changes, shifts, upsets, disruptions of some sort. When the moon squares Uranus, we got to expect the unexpected. And this is a reminder as well that the last time the Leo moon squared Uranus was during the last full moon. So maybe what's coming up for you is part of integrating the changes that happened around the last full moon. That's definitely a potential. Just lean into the flow. Don't be too stuck to a rigid plan on Saturday because there's a good chance that plans will change. And you might even be feeling a little rebellious with the moon in Leo in this very expressive, playful sign. Uranus, the planet of rebellion, can kind of force that rebelliousness out of us, almost that childishness, which can be good or bad. So watch yourself. Outbursts from yourself, outbursts from other people. The dramatics are likely to be heightened. Remember everything we talked about during the last full moon, the drama. That might pop up on Saturday too, but at least we have this beautiful trine going on at the same time to Venus and Jupiter and Chiron. So it's kind of playing into the energy of Friday a little bit more, like if triggers, if unexpected stuff pops up, okay, how is there healing potential here? How can I flow with love in this situation? How can I make it easy and joyful, even if it's not exactly what I expected? Why, Uranus? Why? Yeah, so interesting. Tomorrow is a day date for my partner. We'll probably go out for food, and we're trying to work on more of these days into our schedules. And, you know, Uranus could have you doing something differently. There's a positive potential here where it's like pushing us out of our comfort zone, disrupting the status quo of what we would normally do. So it could be fun on a day date to do something you've never done before or push your comfort zone a little bit, but just be prepared for things not to go according to plan. Yeah, date nights are a must. Yes. And then the final transit we experience on Saturday will be actually right around midnight. So it might be Sunday for you, depending on where you live. Midnight Pacific time, overnight for our East Coasters. The moon forms a sextile to Mars. And this supportive angle to Mars shouldn't be too intense. But it could keep us up late. Now, if it's a Saturday night for you and you want to stay up late, hey, more power to you. Mars is there to help you burn that midnight oil and keep the party going, especially with the moon in Leo. It's like, yes, let's just keep the fun going. Never want the party to stop. Never want to grow up, essentially. But if you're trying to go to sleep early or you don't want to stay up late, Mars could keep you up a little bit and make for a restless night of sleep. If you are able to fall asleep, you might also have bold or action-packed dreams. So not necessarily being unable to sleep, but having a lot going on in the dream realm while you sleep, because Mars is the planet of action, and we can expect a little bit of action on Saturday night. He tends to be more spontaneous. Maybe he'll have a surprise for you or something like that. Or maybe you can surprise him since he obviously likes spontaneity. And Mars could also heat things up a little bit with the moon in Leo on Saturday night. Mars is that drive, that motivation, that action. So movement, again, will be very helpful to ease any restlessness or tension. Mars is there to support us in moving forward and taking action. And sometimes that comes through physical action. And if we don't take physical action, we might feel like pent up energy. But in general, this is a supportive connection to Mars. We don't need to fear it. It's just probably going to give us a little more energy. Ooh, I invited Elsie's friend over for a play date on Saturday, pushed myself out of my comfort zone, manifesting positive connections from that. I think that will be a perfect way to lean into the square to Uranus, doing something differently. Love it. So that's our Saturday. Now let's move into the Sunday forecast, which is even more calm, actually. Now, it's like a double-edged sword. Every time I say that, I'm like, actually, there is something I need to tell you about. So the moon remains in Leo for most of the day on Sunday and just kind of chilling in Leo, doing the Leo thing, giving us permission to have fun, to play a little bit. But then on Sunday night, right before the moon moves into Virgo, it's going to make a connection at the anaretic degree to Saturn, and it will be an opposition to Saturn. So let's talk about that really quick. Here it is. The moon at 29 degrees opposing Saturn at 29 degrees. When the moon opposes Saturn, we can be prone to isolation, to loneliness, to negativity, and to worrying. So with the moon in Leo, it could make our worries, our fears feel more dramatic. However, an opposition is that make or break energy. So the opposition to Saturn could kind of force us to face reality and see the practicality or the logic of the situation as well. It's just we want to be sure not to go full on into only practicality. There has to be a balance here, right? And the moon is like playing this balancing act with Saturn, pulling at each other. So especially at the 29th degree, it's like, again, that restlessness to just make sense of things, to just come to a conclusion, to get on with it already, to do the responsible thing. And that could make us feel a little dramatic or restless on Sunday evening. So noticing if we're operating out of fear, if we're acting out of fear, or if we are acting out of trust and reassurance. Moving from fear is usually not the best way to go. So, if those doubts or worries are popping up, okay, how can we just be like, Saturn, I know you're at the 29th degree. I get it, but we don't have to always listen to the worries and the doubts that come into our mind. So the moon opposing Saturn, the last connection of the Leo moon, really taking us to a sobering place. But then the moon moves into Virgo shortly after at about 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, and we're starting to feel into the energy of Tuesday's full moon. The moon won't make any connections once it moves into Virgo. We just get some time to integrate to the Virgo energy. When the moon is in Virgo, just a little preview because I'm sure we'll be talking about this quite a bit next week. We tend to be more analytical, our mental state's more activated because Virgo is ruled by Mercury. But the beautiful thing about Virgo is that it's an earth sign as well. So while we have this analysis and this mental activation, we also have the ability to ground things from here and bring them down into the physical plane. So notice that as we work towards the full moon, our insights coming in, how can you apply them? How can you ground them? How can you embody them? Especially if your mind is very active. Okay, how can we actually bring this in and put this into action, or at least bring this into our emotional body and really process it rather than just letting it stay up here and float around. Virgo also illuminates our habits and our patternings because Virgo rules the 6th house. So some questions that might come up leading up to the full moon as it shines light on that area of our life. What habits are supporting our rise and what patterns are we maybe ready to release? These are some things to think about leading up to the full moon, because we know after the full moon, the energy is potent for release. So almost making a plan for release, a plan for cleansing. Virgo is great for clearing things out, cleansing energy, really leaning into purity. And so noticing, am I ready to release things to find more purity within and just cleanse my energy in general? I feel like the energy on Sunday, just with the opposition to Saturn coming into Sunday night, is going to start to feel a lot more practical and analytical and logical, just with the Saturn Virgo influence. So something to keep in mind. It might be like the height of the Leo moon, playful energy kind of drops down on Sunday night. And you might even be in like planning and preparing mode for the week ahead as the moon opposes Saturn, like needing to be responsible, needing to be the authority, needing to be on top of it. And then the moon moving into Virgo is like, okay, make sure you have all the T's crossed and the I's dotted and you have all the little details set for the week ahead. That could be a potential of the energy on Sunday evening. Oh, you guys are so cute, hyping each other up. All the moms in the chat. Chris says, trying my best. I have to keep reminding myself to take care of myself, to be fully present with my son. The Leo moon, especially with all of your fire energy, it's going to be harmonizing with all the fire in your chart, Rose. It is that permission slip to just having fun is part of taking care of yourself. I'm not a parent, but I know when I get in work mode or when I feel like I have to be responsible for certain things, I often put my own joy on the back burner. Like I don't need to take 20 minutes to just like play my ukulele and sing a little bit because I have other stuff that's more important. Or, you know, I could take a dance break, but I actually should just get to the next 10 things on my to-do list. So joy is a form of self-care. Joy is a form of emotionally nurturing ourselves. And that's what the Leo moon invites us to lean into. Creative bubble Sunday night. Yeah, that could be great, especially if you're trying to apply it practically, you know, and like make a plan almost for how you want to apply it in the physical world, your creativity, that is. Ooh, a quote Rachel saw today. One positive thought sparks another positive thought. Let those thoughts snowball into a positive ball of light for the world to see. Yes. Training our brains to see the potential, to see the light, to see the positivity in each situation. And then it's easier to see the positivity. That's why gratitude journaling and gratitude practices are so powerful, because when you start doing them regularly, then your brain is already mapped to be like, oh, I could add that to my gratitude list tonight, or I could add that to my gratitude journal tomorrow morning. You're in the mindset of looking for things to be grateful for, right? Ooh, Katie has all the fun plans. I'm going rock climbing on Tuesday, talk about earth energy. Perfect for the full moon too. So true. Joy as self-care helps everyone. Yes, joy is a superfood, says Alyssa. I keep meaning to make shirts or bags with that phrase on it. It's true. It's true. Being in a state of joy, your body can relax. It's just, I feel like it's not talked about enough how important it is to have fun and be happy. Like, especially in the spiritual world, it's all about like meditation and sound healing, and all of that is great. All of those tools are amazing. But if you're not also finding time to do what lights your soul on fire and be joyful and be playful, like what are you even living for? I mean, that's what has the realization I have had over the last couple of years. Like, wow, joy is part of my healing journey. For sure. All right, that's the forecast for the full weekend. Let's come back to today's affirmation. Now, this might feel like, where's this coming from? But with Venus conjunct Chiron, with it being Venus Day, our relationships really are illuminated. And also with the moon in Leo, we can be a little self-centered. We can only focus on our own emotions and kind of be tied to our ego in that way. So this affirmation, my emotions are only part of the equation. My emotions are only part of the equation. Remembering that we can't control how anyone else feels. Remembering that it's not our job to make anybody else feel a certain way, just as it's not anyone else's job to make us feel a certain way. And that also all we can control is how we feel. If we want to feel joy, it's our job to make ourselves feel joy, to find joy. It's not anybody else's job, our partner, our children, our dogs, our parents, to bring joy to us, to make us feel joyful. So remembering my emotions are only part of the equation, and taking radical responsibility for our emotions as well. Like, also, if the vibe is off and you're like, I'm really trying to feel joy right now, but my partner, again, my parent, my kids are just like not in that space, how can I take some time and recognize, okay, again, it's not my job to make everybody happy here. My emotions are only part of the equation. And really this stemmed from the whole projecting old wounds in relationships being something that might come up with Venus conjunct Chiron. So remembering that your emotions might not even be generated from the present moment. They might be coming up from the past. They might be your body signaling to you that it needs something. How can we take care of ourselves first so we can show up for other people? And how can we also give the other people that we're in relationship with in our lives space to process their own emotions, or at least just some support to process their emotions without taking them on, right? It's not our job to take on other people's emotions. Let them have their experience so we can have ours. Not everybody is as attuned to the transits either, and triggers might pop up for people if they haven't already over the past couple of days. And that's okay, because we don't have to take on those triggers. Our emotions are only part of the equation. Yes, Alyssa. Our culture treats joy like it's a treat when you've done all the things, but it's what fuels our ability to do the things. Yes. Yeah. And what I've noticed, I'll just be honest with you all, in my relationship is speaking of joy as a treat, almost like joy as or happiness as like a goal, like, well, I'm doing all these things to try to make you happy. That's definitely a conversation that not just recently, but in general has come up in my relationship. And it's like, I don't want to be a jerk, but it's not your job to make me happy. It's your job to make you happy. And it's not like, okay, we found joy, so that's the be all end all. Because joy can coexist with sadness. Joy can coexist with tension. Joy can coexist with a whole range of emotions. It's not a be all end all. It's not just a state we get to. It's not like we're on this ascension journey and once we reach joy, we just stay there, right? It's something that we need to constantly incorporate in for ourselves. And when we're in that state of joy, we want to share joy. We're abundant. We want to make other people feel good. But if we're trying to make someone else feel joy and they're not, we got to let them have their experience, right? Such a tough lesson for me, realizing that my emotions don't define who I am either. Yeah, they're just ships passing through in the sea. These emotions just floating on by, floating through, maybe bringing some deliveries, maybe docking for a second and showing us, okay, there's a little something that needs to come off this ship. But yeah, they're just here to be witnessed. It helps to think this way when you struggle with anxiety and depression. Definitely, Rachel. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Okay. We're going to finish up with a 3-card pull from the Light Seers Tarot deck. I haven't done a 3-card pull in a while. And I'm like, this weekend, I'm wanting some specific answers for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we'll do our 3-card pull. I'll shuffle up the cards. I always like to remind you that I am not a tarot expert. I just read the guidebook, but I know we have Alyssa in the chat who does do, tarot readings that are much more intuitive and jam-packed than mine. So, Alyssa, if you notice any themes coming up, feel free to share in the chat. But we'll all take a nice deep breath together as our reminder that we can always come back to our breath if we're feeling overwhelmed by the waxing moon, by these planets that are at the very end of their transits, Saturn and Pluto, or just by life itself. If we're having a hard time not taking on other people's emotions, if we're having a hard time finding joy, we can always cleanse with just a nice big breath and start over in the moment. Okay, thank you. All right, let's do it. Taking one big deep breath from the root to the crown. Here we go. Breathe in. And release. What do we need to know? The 9 of Swords is our Friday card. The 6 of Cups is our Saturday card. And the Knight of Pentacles is our Sunday card. All upright, might I add. So already it feels like a good omen, at least just pulling them in a positive direction. This deck does have like protection messages for each card. So we'll start with the Nine of Swords, our Friday card. And the picture on the Nine of Swords is a bunch of crows and a girl crying under them. Okay, this is what's coming through. Nightmares, worry, feelings of depression or anxiety, insomnia, fear, an opportunity to find courage, a time to focus on safety and the things that are going well in your life. What's keeping you up at night, sweet seer? This card suggests a time in your life when negative thoughts are gaining momentum and when you may find yourself expending too much energy worrying about the future. Perception is everything, so don't allow negative self-talk to trip you up. If a pessimistic mindset spirals wildly out of control, it can lead to anxiety, stress, or depression, even when your thoughts carry no truth. Are you imagining the worst instead of activating the best? Flip your perspective and send nurturing, loving thoughts to your situation to overcome any disturbing thoughts. Look to the light in your situation and notice that even the tiniest window of brightness can keep fear at bay. Use your light to expose the illusions and allow worries to dissipate and soften as your bad dreams are illuminated for what they really are. I see my fears as the illusions that they are. I see my fears as the illusions that they are. Remember, Mercury just moved into Pisces too, so it's easy for our mind to wander and go down a rabbit hole and, lead us to those feelings of isolation and sadness and sensitivity and depression. So noticing if that negative loop is coming up, if those triggers, those old wounds, those old stories are coming up and you're trying to project them, or not even trying, you are projecting them onto your current situation. Alyssa says, the key with the Swords deck is to remember that often what we are experiencing emotionally and mentally isn't always a reflection of reality. Inner animal makes up fears and situations to protect oneself from dangerous situations, but they aren't always correct. Interesting that I already was like, yeah, Mercury and Pisces, they're the idea of illusion. I see my fears as the illusions they are. Like, what old energy stories wounding is your inner animal projecting to try to protect you? That could be coming up with Venus conjunct Chiron today. And there's potential to heal those things if we can become the observer of our inner animal or that part of ourselves that's trying to come out and protect us. Okay, the Six of Cups seems a little lighter already for our Saturday card. Remember, we have this beautiful trine playing out between the Leo moon and that nice little stellium conjunction in Aries. The Six of Cups, it has a puppy on it, so automatically love it. Yeah, the Friday card really applied to me too. I feel a little called out by this deck. Feel a little called out. Okay, on to our Saturday card, the Six of Cups. Nostalgia, reconnecting with people from the past, harmony, themes of your life, inner child, and future self. You may be experiencing nostalgia or feeling triggered by old memories. It's time to forgive yourself by releasing any residual guilt that you still carry from past relationships, trauma, or previous actions. Accept your humanness and stop lamenting the decisions that you've made up until now. Memories are a profound tool for processing lessons and healing. Who you were can highlight how far you've come, and that growth can shine beauty on where you are headed next. Time is a beautiful thing. Contemplate the needs of your inner child or listen to advice from your future self. Sometimes this card is a literal message that someone from your past is going to re-enter your life, or that it's the perfect moment to reconnect with old kindreds and to reminisce. When we connect with all the moments on our timeline, we truly find our wholeness. I am at peace with my past. It has brought me to where I'm meant to be. Yeah, beautiful and unhindered, innocent enjoyment, best when shared. This feels like a perfect card for the Leo moon, tapping into what lit us up as children, bringing that into the present and even into the future. And in that place, this card talks about releasing residual guilt that you carry from the past. The moon will be harmonizing with the Chiron Venus-Jupiter conjunction. So by leaning into our inner child and giving our inner child a safe place, a safe place to express, healing is possible just by experiencing joy and sharing it with others. Beautiful and unhindered, innocent enjoyment, best when shared. Beautiful. Yeah, calling us out. And I really love that this card talking about, okay, what's weighing on you? What are you projecting? What's coming up is followed by, okay, lean into the Leo moon, find your joy. That can be healing. That can help release the weight of whatever's coming up today. And then the Knight of Pentacles, as so many of you have been talking about loving the word pentacles. Pentacles is a fun word to say. Reminds me of tentacles. You guys are cute. The Knight of Pentacles is our Sunday card. Already feeling that Leo energy, all of us kind of goofing around with the word pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles says this: diligence and hard work, determination, steadfastness, building material security, safety, being pragmatic, expansion. Okay, Saturn, and okay, Virgo moon. He's toiling and tilling his lands and enjoying every minute of it. More practical than other knights, he improves things for himself and those he loves with his steadfast and consistent momentum. Devoted to solidifying foundations, he assures you that extra care today will multiply your harvest tomorrow. This definitely feels like the moon moving into Virgo. Take extra care. Make sure you've got all the T's crossed and the I's dotted. Pay attention to the details. It's time to show fierce loyalty, pride, and trustworthiness, and to tend to your home while uncovering your unwavering ambitions for the future. Sometimes this energy is so stable that it feels repetitive. So if you're feeling resistance, or if you'd kind of prefer to stay in bed, find the joy in your progress. The journey is the thing. Uncover heart-stirring enthusiasm by allowing yourself to believe in something brighter. This is a card of infinite expansion, and with time and faith, your seeds will take. Follow through on your plans and promises and move any stagnant energy that's blocking you from your dreams. Seed by seed, I plant my future with my rock-steady foundations of faith. Really playing into the energy of the Leo moon opposing Saturn at the 29th degree, like really thinking about the future, really wanting to get on to the next thing, to progress, but remembering that we can't speed up time. And instead, we can use the time we have as the moon moves into Virgo to be a little more diligent, make sure we're prepared, and make sure we've got everything in order so we can enjoy the full moon, so we can really experience the clarity of the full moon at its highest potential if we're going into it kind of prepared for it, right? So feels like that high that comes down to the practicality on Sunday evening with the Knight of Pentacles. Stay the course and believe in myself and my vision. Yes. Yep, stepping into the action of manifesting mundane and real world plans. No longer dreaming, but putting what you've learned and hoped for into action. Yes. Coming into that full moon in Virgo, how can you take everything that's been mentally activated in the past couple weeks and now embody it and ground it and bring it into the physical world, leaning into the earth energy of Saturn and of the Virgo moon? Love that push to release guilt. I had to be my own parent at a young age and didn't always do the best job. I need to forgive myself. And just saying that, you already have. You are forgiven. It's okay. You did an amazing job. You did the best job you could. You're already there, Katie. So interesting. I felt like I've been standing up for my inner child more and releasing the past. I love this confirmation for the Saturday card. Beautiful. Chiron. I almost just called you Chiron because I saw your next comment has Chiron. Cards very on point, Diane says. I'm loving this one especially. I've been reflecting and leaning on creativity to let my inner child express needs through art. Amazing. I'll be moving into a few areas using my natal grand trine with Chiron. I feel it will bring strength to myself and also to my career. I'm so excited. That's the energy to be in under the Leo moon, especially with this anticipation that we're feeling. Anxiety and excitement can be the same energy. So if you're feeling a little anxious or restless, okay, something big is coming. Let's get excited about it. Let's be joyful about it. Let's assume the best rather than worrying about the worst, right? Thanks for saying that, Diane. Yeah, a lot of us having to emotionally be there for ourselves growing up. I wasn't my best mentor growing up and having to learn to forgive myself. Something several of us needed to hear today. Yeah, great work, Katie. It's beautiful that we're all on this journey and that we are doing this work, though. There are some people who will never do this work. They'll just go through their lives in their patterning, in their same loops. And we're all here to heal, to break out of that. So again, you're already doing it just by being here, just by having these realizations. Yeah, sending lots of love to both of you. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for this episode of Transits today. I hope you have a beautiful weekend ahead of you. I am very excited for what's to come this weekend. And know that, again, if you're feeling restless, anxious, angry, you always have the tools, the outlets to take care of yourself, to own your own emotions, to remember that your emotions are only part of the equation and they're the only part of the equation that you can control. So how can you let your inner child out to have a little fun? How can you let it be a little easier this weekend? How can you give yourself permission to have fun and find joy, even if life isn't exactly perfect right now? Yes, we are here to heal ourselves and others. So grateful for each and every one of you who are on your own individual journeys, who are on this collective journey with me, who continue to show up for yourselves, for this community, to lift each other up, to introduce astrology to other people in the world. So powerful. I also, before I go, if you're still here, want to just thank Alyssa for more detailed tarot insights for us. She's my go-to for tarot. So if you're ever looking for a tarot reading, she's the Gold Country Witch on Instagram. And yes, joy is accessible. It's a great place to end. Remember, your joy is accessible, and I am beaming so much love to you and giving you full permission to just let that lion's mane down under the Leo moon and have a little fun this weekend. I will be back on Monday to chat about the energy of the week ahead as we come into that Virgo full moon, as Saturn gets ready to enter Pisces on Tuesday as well. We have a lot to look forward to, and I'm so excited to walk through the next energy with you, but just to take this weekend to soak in as much joy as we can. Thank you all so much. I'm sending love to you, and I will see you on Monday, but until I see you next, stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.